there, Indwellers! Welcome back to the channel, and it's time for a new review. Or actually, a set of reviews about Guild Wars 2. I have already covered all of the expansions that have been released to date. I separated the seasons as their own entity, with the exception of Icebrute Saga, that I included in the review cycle for the expansions. And I did so mainly because Icebrute Saga really felt more like an expansion rather than an interim season between the two expansions. You can watch a full review of that season on my channel. I will create a tab on the top right corner if I don't forget, or I will link it in the description below. So what are we reviewing today? I wanted to do a review for The Living Season 1, but given it's just released the last chapter, I think this week, I will finish that first before reviewing the entire thing in full. Now, onto the topic of how good Living Season 2 actually is or isn't. The season was actually my first experience of Guild Wars 2 post-base game back in the day. And I remember it was very confusing to me when meeting the brand new crew the game expected me to be familiar with. But because I missed the Living Season 1 the first time around, the whole experience was very discombobulating. Also, upon my first experience with Living Season 2, when it was released, I recall a difficulty spike for the base game, and I really struggled with the combat back then. Plus, I wasn't familiar with the builds as I am now. So the content is far easier these days due to multiple balance patches that took place over the years, and addition of elite specializations, masteries, and so on. So as far as story goes, I still find Living Season 2 to be overall boring in terms of narrative. It's a whole lot of walking, talking, some actions here and there, but something is just generally missing. Something that would hook me as a player into the events happening around my character. Last time I thought it was because of the discount Destiny's Edge 2.0 and because I missed Living Season 1. But replaying it this time around didn't change that nagging feeling at all, despite knowing the origins of the new team too. I found the pacing of the story absolutely terrible. However, it did offer pretty good character analysis base for Fallon, Keith, Scarlet, and the Asura as a race, but more about it later. It did pique my interest a few times though, one of them being Keith's memories, but the mechanics were god-awful in there. I pity any completionist who is working on getting those achievements. Like, screw that, seriously. If we are to dismantle the entire story plot of the season, which is all over the place, by the way, I am hella confused by the narrative choices made by ArenaNet writers. The entire flow of the events is a broken mess jumbled together. They did add some much appreciated hints to Guild Wars 1, but then those hints mean nothing if players never played Guild Wars 1, like words about Ventari's tablet and its tenets. Do you know what that means without actually playing Guild Wars 1? I rather doubt it unless you go digging in the wiki. Yet devs made no effort to clue in the players either for the first time or brush up on their memories. I honestly felt the same in regards to mentioning of the Forgotten. We met them in Guild Wars 1 Nightfall and worked with them for quite a bit when navigating in Abaddon's realm of torment. But you would only know that if you played Guild Wars 1. So everything touched upon in this season that had hints to Guild Wars 1 were very surface level, and I think it was a huge missed opportunity to intertwine the two games a bit more together. Additionally, I have no idea why and how I'm supposed to care about Zephyrite and who they are without doing an annual event connected to them in the game. If devs were smart, they would actually take that into consideration, that not every player is aware of the past events, and maybe script a party member from the NPCs to where they're not aware or may not be familiar with the Zephyrites and who they are. Thus, another character from the party would explain it in a more immersive manner to both the unaware NPC as well as the players, all the details. Maybe include some more in-depth lore about them, since they seem like an interesting and peculiar faction. Or better yet, start with the season with the introduction of the Zephyrites, have us work with them, get us immersed into their connection to Glint, and then when their fleet is destroyed, I'd probably care a whole lot more and maybe get more involved in solving the mystery of their crash. Otherwise, the Zephyrites as is, felt like a wasted filler of story time in all honesty. And I wish they were more involved in the events and were more prominent and important as a faction in Tyria that would help us fight the new threat that we are otherwise unfamiliar with. Especially considering how important it seemed for us to find the Master of Peace and his entire role that he had to do with Glenn's legacy. Entire deal with the Zephyrite is pretty much surface level, and it's extremely underwhelming. Same goes for Marjorie's sister. If Des really wanted me to be emotionally involved in the events of the game connected to her death, there has to be some time spent dealing with the NPC before killing them. Otherwise, I personally just shrugged it off. Also, who is Aaron and where is he from? Why did we fight him? What was he after? I have so many questions because none of that was ever explained unless I totally missed it. Secondly, the revelation of the mysterious enemy was totally absurd and underwhelming. Name just got blurted out by Marjorie, if I recall correctly. Marjorie, whatever you pronounce it. But it was never logically explained how she even knew that Mordremoth was that threat and how she found out about it. She just knows and that's it. It's extremely underwhelming and from the story perspective, as I have said. Such a huge reveal would actually make more sense closer to the season, to the end of the season, if not its entire finale. Thirdly, a good chunk of the season is devoted to the summit of the national leaders to deal with the threat of Mordremoth, and it really felt like a waste of time. Again, would have been better if the summit took place just before the end of the season, where it would have been revealed that the Mordremoth is a jungle dragon that awoke and attacked the summit, and we'd be revealed that the Sylvari belonged to the jungle dragon, and wrap it up with the dragons destroying the airship. The finale crash of the fleet would have also made more sense, as it would imply that we were late because local politicians wasted our time for favors for attendance of the summit rather than being proactive. As for the character development, I did like some of it, not all of it. For example, the really good character development was introduced for Keith through her memories and gave us a good look into how cruel Asura can be and potentially still are. And after replaying season 2 while playing through season 1 at the same time, I now have formed a little bit different opinion on Scarlet, for example. I personally don't think of her as a villain anymore. I would rather categorize her as an anti-hero as opposed to Fowlin, who is an actual villain. Also, devs, thank you for reaffirming my dislike of the Asura. I never liked them before, and I like them even less now. Except for maybe Taimi. I like the insight into Keith's past, and I actually grew to dislike her. I honestly liked Keith before. Now it's changed. I don't dislike her as much as Zoja, but still. I personally think that Keith is like a jealous sibling who has to butt into everything you do to establish her importance, even if she clearly isn't chosen for the role of the egg babysitter. I never saw it about her in the past, but her selfish side really pokes her head out this season, and even though she always was portrayed as a level-headed member of the Destiny's Edge, I found that choice of character development slightly weird and unbecoming of her. I'm still mixed on how I feel about her, but I found her a little bit weird this season. The rest of the characters in our group, as I call them, discount Destiny's Edge, they just remained a cardboard cutout on the background, except for maybe Rox. She has the weird obsession with Ritlock's approval, and it made me a little uncomfortable at times. I get why she wants to find her place in the Legions, but she goes a little overboard with that sometimes. And I also found it a little bit odd that when Ritlock disappeared into the mist, jumping up to his sword, not a single person was actually freaked out by it. They acted like it's a normal occurrence. I don't know. I was worried about Ritlock. He's one of the best guys out there. Overall, this season is really hard to play through due to the unfun mechanics of various encounters, foobar narrative, flow and structure, a lot of wasted potential in terms of story and lore. I'd give this season 3 out of 10 at best for some interesting points from Keith's past, curious character insight on the Asura and their treatment of the Sylvari that led me to ponder over Scarlet's personality and the character development, and music, I guess. If you play the game for the story or you're a completionist, this season is still crucial for you, even though I would personally rebuild its chronological sequence of events ground up. If you're not into the story of the game, I say this season will be a waste of money and time for you. This is it for today, folks. Please do let me know in the comments below what you think of Living Season 2 and share your experience and your impressions about it. I am still wrapping up Living Season 1 Let's Play, as well as writing the review for it. Check out my socials, like and subscribe the video, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers, guys!